Welcome to this episode about Singles Inferno. Let's get cracking, honestly. Like, Singles Inferno became my hyperfixation so quickly, and the fact of the matter is I've been talking about it ever since I finished. And actually, yeah, I'm talking about it to my mum like repeatedly, because honestly, when a show has you, it has you. And I never thought that I would be so consumed by a reality TV program. But then again, I've grown up, I guess, my whole life actually consuming reality TV. Like, it's not anything crazy. Because even how Geordie Shore's currently on, and I've been even watching that new season, but of course it's not the same like as it used to be. And like, Geordie Shore used to be great, Jersey Shore, like all these reality TV programs, they're all fantastic. But Singles Inferno, something different about that. And again, with this episode, I also made notes on like 3 different things, right? 3 different places actually. So notebook, laptop, phone. All 3. I was like, I kept when I was watching, and I think I also wanted the episode exactly to be jam-packed, because of course reality TV program, it does have to be like that. It's like when you do see currently, I feel like people are doing lots of reviews on TikTok of or recaps anyways of like Love Island All Stars. I'm not watching, by the way, just to throw that out there, because the subject of this conversation is about reality TV and a reality TV program. So I just wanted to clarify that, I'm not watching Love Island All Stars. I was watching it in the very beginning, and then I was like, nah. And then also, Singles Inferno also set the bar for me. Also, I think that's what's crazy. Like, now that I guess when I found Singles Inferno, I was like, this is what people have been having. Like, do you know what I mean? This is TV. I was like, with Love Island All Stars, you're just getting rage baited on the television. Like, you're just watching and it's just crazy. And then time after time, it's always some, black woman being in the line of fire. And then it's like, oh, she's being put there just to be humiliated. She's getting told she's aggressive. Like, just all of this stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's literally like, oh, it's crazy. And then I think actually also on the subject of reality TV, I know that American Top Models also come out, but let's save that for a later date, guys. Because if I talk about American Top Model right now in this episode, I feel like it's gonna overshadow Singles Inferno, and that's just not fair. It's not fair to to the enjoyers of Singles Inferno like me, and also, it's just not fair. Like, it's just, that's the whole thing. It's not fair. Like, oh my gosh, like, Singles Inferno was great. And all I'm saying is I will record an American Top Model episode for you guys, 100%. Even when I finished American Top Model, I went on YouTube. Or, well, the day after. Yeah, day after I finished American Top Model, I was on YouTube and I was like, wow, like, cause I swear with American Top Model, it's been the craze right now, because obviously everyone's just been seeing how Tyra was on the show, and how is she even able to run a program? You know what Tyra Banks is giving? She's giving like president who rules the country and they're very evil, like cough cough, Donald Trump. But like, this is what I mean. I'm like, and it makes you think, that's so crazy. How is she able to run a show like that? And then how is Donald Trump able to run the country? I don't understand. Those 2 things, they don't add up to me. These 2 things don't add up and they don't make sense. And also, you guys might think that, oh my gosh, that might be such a big jump, and then it must be crazy to compare Tyra Banks to Donald Trump, but they both were like, do you get it? They were both dictators on a pedestal. And then also, there are 2 people who are like, this is all about me, power, blah blah blah. Like, she's like, oh, all these girls are here and they're here because of me. And then also, I can also shape them any way I want to shape them, tell them whatever to do, and they're gonna do whatever I want. It's like dance monkey dance, like type situation like that. That's what she's gonna say, because she's like, I don't really care. And then I think everyone was saying, yes, that she was also colorist and everything like that, and that's just so insane. How could you be colorist when you got put in this, you came into the model industry, you knew it was hard as well, but why would you put the same hardness onto other people? It just makes no sense. I don't even want to talk about her, because again, she's gonna get me she's gonna get me tight. She's gonna get me tight. I'm gonna get hot. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, I want to talk about Singles Inferno and how much the show was crazy to me and how much it's consuming my everyday thoughts for the past few days. So I think with my first note, yeah, let's start off here. So I was talking to you guys, yes, about Love Island, and then how I was saying how, Love Island All Stars and Love Island just as a general show, it's all fell and good. But I think also what I was saying about Love Island, so while we're on the subject, I was saying that like the Love Island games are they're quite lackluster, they're quite boring, and they're very predictable. And they do them every year as well. Like, they're literally always the same. Like, they flesh up the same games. Because even when you see them and you see the games on the Lion All Stars, like, it's just them, like, bro, it's just them doing that pie one. It's them doing Truth or Dare games. And don't get me wrong, Singles Inferno does Truth or Dare games too, kind of, or does, like, especially when they had the campfire scene. So they do those as well. So there we are. They do those. That's fine. But like, they don't do them as much though. Their games are actually more complex and more interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like, these guys are doing these games and their lives are on the line, right? And they're coming out of those games also not unscathed. They've got scars all over their chest. Like, they've been in a fight with a monster or some type of animal. Do you know what I mean? Well, like, that's what's so crazy. The games are so intense. People are out there fighting for their lives. Do you see that on Love Island? No. The guys are like, whoa, the guys on the show, they'll be like, oh, yeah, like, you should be liking me because, I don't know, I gave you a coffee in the morning. Hello? A coffee? Do you know I have two hands? I can make my own coffee myself. That's insane. I can actually make my own coffee, but you're talking about like, oh yeah, you made me a coffee, like it should be some type of medal and it should be worth us, I guess, hanging down with you, choosing to couple up with you. No, that's so boring. So literally, that is just for me. I do find the games like more interesting and like yeah, and that, I think my first note was like, yeah, it's somehow better that the show isn't filled with lust. Actually, it's more romantic that way with no kissing / intimate scenes. And also, I feel like it's because of, like, obviously Korea doesn't like that kind of stuff. Like, you hardly ever see those type of things. Even though, on the subject of that, obviously Lee Ki-young was in The Trunk. So I started watching episode 1 of The Trunk. Because, okay, yeah, we'll get there later though. But obviously, I started The Trunk and I was like, oh, like, this show's a bit, whoa, you know what I mean? I was like, this show's a bit spicy, but they I feel like they only have that at sometimes, but they don't do anything else. They don't go over the line because they don't like that stuff, and they're very strict on like inappropriate things. They don't like all that stuff. They're like, no, you're not allowed, and they're like, oh, red card. And they literally, I feel like, exactly, it's the type of thing you can probably get cancelled over, because of course they do have that kind of stuff where yeah, I think it's usually, what's the thing that they have where if you smoke drugs or something, then you're going to jail. And also, yeah, you're going to jail, and also they put that as, yes, you're worthy to being cancelled. I think like that reminds me of Top. So T.O.P, who's obviously in Squid Game. So I think that's like him, because people were like, oh yeah, they were like, oh yeah, he had this whole drug scandal thing, and they were like, oh yeah, they cancelled him for like, like they cancelled him for a while, and then obviously he got his like back, like his going back into the public eye from being on Squid Game, and everyone was like, yeah, like, and then everyone also, I think, people I guess who weren't in Korea were like, well, that was a bit too severe, like, you know what I mean? It was actually a bit too strict. But this is what I mean. I'm just saying with yes, on the subject of like the show not having that stuff, I enjoyed it way much more than when a show is filled with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, like it gives me shivers, like, and hello. And I think not to be that person, like, not to make a comparison, I guess, with like reality TV and K-dramas, but like, this is the fact of the matter is that is why a lot of us who like K-dramas, that's what we're in it for. The fact that K-dramas have slow burns, like all that stuff, like we actually need that. And not to say that more, like, I guess not like that other TV shows don't have that, because they do. But then again, all I can say is they don't do it like K-dramas do. Like, and I just mean like the fact matters of yearning and what real yearning is. And like, that's all I can say. And like, honestly, I felt that on this show. Like, I felt the yearning through the screen. These people are like, I really like you, like da 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 da. But it's like, I guess what I'm saying is, in comparison to other TV shows, person will be like, oh yeah, I'll like you, then they'll just start smacking. Like obviously, yes, again, take Love Island, they'll be like, yeah, I'll like you, they'll confess up on the terrace, and then they'll kiss, and then, oh yeah, remember in Love Island, exactly, they have the whole idea of the terrace, and being like, he will just go up to the terrace just to smack, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, yo, I'm just like, yuck. I'm just like, what? You guys don't want to do any, like, you know what I mean? Like, have the small gap where you guys have this moment where, you know, yeah, like, you don't even want to reach out to each other. Like, do you know what I mean? It takes time to get there. It reminds me of, yeah, exactly, of the reunion scenes as well. So, like, you can see that the couples have come far. And like, you know, now they're more, you know, clinging with one another. They weren't like that on the show. But you know what I mean? Now that they're out and they're making connections, lifelong ones, like, they now are like, reach out. Do you know what I mean? But on these ones, yeah, people just be skipping right to the, and I think anyways, it does say a lot anyways about the dating generation or whatever. It just says a lot about that anyways. Like, honestly, if we make a connection, is that it just goes back to people not being willing to wait. Like, yeah, people not being able to wait, people not liking the waiting game, people, I guess, taking a person out and expecting, I guess, yeah, expecting all the way on the first date, excuse me. Exactly, that is like a big societal issue. So that's what I'm saying. Singles Inferno isn't refreshing in that way, because it's like, dearie me, we're like, you guys give us somewhat hope that it's like, it's not always gonna be like that. Do you know what I mean? And there will be people who will literally, like, as I said, stick their life on the line, and they will wait, and they will yearn for you. That's what I mean, guys. This is like, I'm promoting Singles Inferno. That's what I mean. If you haven't watched Singles Inferno, you need to watch it, because again, like, hello. And I feel like that's what I mean. I think sometimes when you watch dating reality TV shows, sometimes they'll be a bit like, you know, they'll make you feel worse, you know, and like, nobody wants to feel worse. Like, do you think that's what I'm watching this program for? To feel worse and be like, well, actually, I'm going to be single for the rest of my life? That's insane. That's not what I want. And again, if the T word is reality, hello? I'm like, if the T word is reality, what's going on? Like, why are you showing me that, you know, show me that that's not gonna happen for me? That's insane. Like, no, that's not my reality. Do you know what I mean? That's not my reality. It could be somebody else's, but it's not mine. I want to be able to say that after watching a TV show, that I'm like, yeah, these two people love each other, they're gonna be together forever. Like, please don't lie to me, because that's not what I'm here for. Like, you're not gonna gaslight me on live television. It's just not gonna happen. Like, I said, that's not what I signed up for, right? I signed up in the way that when I'm watching the show, it's believable, it's not fake. I don't think anyone's fame hungry. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that anyone's fame hungry, because exactly, if you can tell that while you're watching a TV show program, oh, it's curtains. Like, what do you mean? I mean, at least, right, you're on there to act. At least make it believable. Do you know what I mean? I can see that to some certain degree. If someone comes on the show and then, like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, actually they were faking it, I'm like, fine, well, I didn't think you were at the time, but you know what I mean, you are now, that's cool. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to see that, and I don't want to be able to tell, you know? It's like when people plan surprises for you. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to be able to say, oh yeah, when someone surprises you, you don't be like, oh yeah, I knew the whole time. Oh my gosh, that is awful. And you may actually listening, you may not even be a fan of surprises, but generally you don't want to know that the surprise is happening. Do you know what I mean? And then I think people actually, this is what I mean again with making stuff believable. Someone will know a surprise is happening and they'll fake it. I'm like, great. That's what I mean. They'll fake it and they'll be like, actually, like, they'll be like, oh, like, I didn't need, like, I did know the whole entire time. And you'll be like, you did? You'll be like, what? I had no idea. I did not know that you knew. But it's better to do that than be like, oh yeah, then be like, oh yeah, like, what is this? Like, I already knew about this. Yuck. And actually, even on top of my point about faking it on reality TV programs, it's so interesting because I don't think I've ever really, I never really see it. And then I know it's interesting because when a couple breaks up, you think, oh yeah, maybe they did make it to some degree. I know everyone has this view sometimes, you know, it's like, I guess even sometimes with Love Island, you're like, oh, they have the potential of, you know, money's on the line for this. Do you know what I mean? It's actually money at the end goal of this. Because this is the thing, like some TV shows, it's a bit hard because, like, sometimes some of them are like, oh yeah, the rainbow at the end is the money. And then with some of our TV shows, of course, you have the rainbow at the end is the relationship, and that's what you should generally be here for. And there's no other reason why you should be here if not for that. So, but it's interesting because I guess that's why with Love Island it's more so where you're like, oh yeah, they are getting money at the end of this, so it's almost like we can't really say if you are like honestly genuine all the way through, because it's like and then again, because it's true, like sometimes when they break up like too soon after the show, you're a bit like that's a bit weird. that's a tiny bit weird, but I don't know, that's what I mean. I think also that's what I mean with Singles Inferno. There's not really, I suppose, I don't know what they would say the reward is. I meant, again, aside from the relationship thing, I said, I don't know what else the reward is, but then maybe, again, for Singles Inferno, it might also be, it's a relationship plus also probably fame, because, again, like, all on these reality TV shows, right, exactly, these are people who come on the program, they're not celebrities before they come on here, they get that after being on the show, do you know what I mean? Again, they're all just, you know, like, what's it called? I was gonna say Joes, like just people, average Joes, average people who have modern day working jobs, and they come on to the chance to get fame, you know, and like, so I feel like, you can say Singles Inferno, it definitely is the fame thing, and then obviously I do feel like obviously for some of them, I mean aside from Love Island, of course, that a lot of them are generally just a fame thing. Not that not that that's a bad thing, because I don't think it's bad, because generally I'm just like, you know, I would never want to go on television, because I always feel like every time you hear people talk about when they're on TV, they just sound like they always have regrets, and like, they always sound like that, like they're like, oh yeah, I don't like how I acted on this, blah blah blah. Or take somebody like, I don't know, somebody like, okay, I never like it when people bite the hand that feeds them type thing, because it's like when people come on a show and then they'll be like, oh yeah, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm so embarrassed that I went on that TV program, yada yada yada. And we're like, well, what do you mean? Like, I was like, if you didn't go on the show, like, nobody would know who you was. So it's also like, that's not like, I'm like, why would you do that? And it's like, exactly. So shout out to the people. Do you know what I mean? Shout out to people that got you on there. But like, you know what I mean? That's why I don't think anyone should really, like, what's the word? Come off, I don't know, maybe bitter or whatever, and I don't know, it's just like, it's crazy. But I feel like reality TV and after again watching American Top Model, I do feel like also my perspective on reality TV has changed. And it's not even goes to say that when you watch that documentary it's like, oh, it completely changes your mind about about reality TV, but it kind of does also, because it did give me a lot of clarity. And like American Top Model, again, that's about beauty, so yeah, like we know that reality TV show has so many different layers, you know. That's what I mean. You have beauty, you've got romance like this, and it's like, again, like I said, what's riding on a romance TV show is just making it believable, plus also good television. And exactly, good television is always the goal. That's always what they're going for. And then again, that goes back to American Top Model. Like, they're literally just like, yeah, good TV, whoever makes good TV and whatever interests viewers. But you know, that's what I mean with American Top Model. I was like, what really is good TV? Do you know what I mean? That's the big question. We said, what is good television? And like, but then not even like, oh, what is good television? What do they think is good television, actually? That's my thing. Like, it's actually really interesting. Somebody should do a case study on that. I'll be so honest. Someone needs to go out in the street, and I say hello, really it should be me, but I'm like, so like, go out in the street, interview people on the street, and be like, you know, what do you like to see in reality TV? Then we're gonna do that as as a case study such survey. We're gonna write it all up. Then we're gonna look back on it, and we're gonna be like, okay, what is it the public are saying? And then we're gonna go off and make improvements based on those answers. Do you know what I mean? Because I just find it so interesting, because would people say, you know, in the way that, yeah, Tyra goes on about good TV, like, do we really think that, oh yeah, good TV is like, we want people to be exploited, we want people to be shamed? I'm like, no, that's not what I want to see. I don't know why you thought that's what I'd want to see also. Like, again, I don't know why you think that's what I want, because I don't want it. But that's what I mean. I think it would be really interesting if somebody really made that happen. By the way, and it's like, again, because it reminds me of like, well, a Go-Go Box or something like that. So when people are watching shows, like, we all see each other's reactions and everything, and usually they're similarly quite the same, and we all feel the same way on like what we like to watch on TV. Like, do you know what I mean? I think for me, and I don't know if this is bad to say, but I was like, hello. I do think, because it's like when I say Geordie Shore, right? Again, if I was to say, like, again, actually, my big three in reality TV, anyways, is, is Geordie Shore, MIC, and Towie. Those are just the big three. And obviously, guys, you guys to me, oh yeah, big three, but I'm saying they're big three for me though. I don't mean like they are great, because they fell off for me a few times also, but I wouldn't say that they are amazing. My whole thing is that those are just my shows, to be honest. And I do think for me, reality TV, it's more like, I feel like I get attached to the people, and I feel like that should maybe only be our only takeaway, you know, not in the way that like not in the way like that I'm just like, I care about these people that I'm watching. Like, you're watching them on the TV, so it's like you care about their lives in some shape or form. Do you know what I mean? And that's basically how I feel when I'm watching these shows. That's just me, you know, but I don't know what like other people would say. It would be interesting to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions actually in the comments, but I just generally think that, yeah, like, for good TV, I just want, I guess, people to just hang out. And I always think nice TV just reminds me of like hanging out with people in general, like in real life. I meant like, it reminds me of that. Like, Geordie Shore used to, like, the thing that always impressed me about Geordie Shore was the fact that every time after a night out, they'd all go home and have kebab. For me, I was like, damn, that is like the pinnacle of what, like, I guess your 20s should look like, or even as a young person. That was how I was looking at it. Do you know what I mean? And I guess also, I think the Geordie Shore, I was also looking at it like the fights always were interesting to me as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying fighting on the television, because you guys would be like, oh yeah, violence is bad, and I do think so too. You know, that's what I mean. I do think so too. But I also think that, you know, yes, fights on TV are okay, but they also, like, they can't be obviously done too much. Do you know what I mean? It reminds me of of Jerry. And I was like, yeah, Jerry again was a lot of exploitation, because even when I watched the documentary for that too, Jerry Springer, guys, by the way. So when I was watching that documentary, I was like, damn, like they were exploiting these people as well. It's like exactly like those type of reality TV programs, like Jerry Springer and Jeremy Kyle. I'm like, guys, these shows, you know that they are literally just exploitation, and like then it's like, yeah, they just part like I guess boost up things. It's the same way that they were doing it on on American Top Model as well, because they said production would be like to them, oh yeah, this person has said this about you, yada yada yada, and then they like to just kickstart it and blow it up, and we're just like, wow. I'm like, you guys can't think of anything else to do to make good TV other than that. And of course, I do think, I suppose drama's good, but like, I think, yeah, for me, maybe my conclusion is, guys, let's do something else. Let's come up with that new storyline. But like, honestly, do something else. And I'm like, maybe they need me in the writer's room. I don't know. Potentially. Maybe they do. Because I'm like, I don't know why they think that these kinds of little stuff that they do are really that helpful. And like, again, okay, on top of American Top Model again, I feel like what's the word? You could see how, yeah, people were affected to the point that, like, it was people watching the show and they were getting affected by the things that they were hearing on the show, but they're not even on the show. You know what I mean? So it's literally like long-term effects, and I guess people don't really know. Oh, I feel like people who make TV, sorry, they don't know the consequences or effects that like making these shows and like putting these messages out there can really bring to people who watch them. So this is what I mean. These people, as I said, there just needs to be some kind of new change. There needs to be some kind of like new idea that they're going to do. Anyways, next point. My next point was, you feel sorry for the people left out, no matter what kind of reality TV show it is, English or not. Absolutely, because exactly, it was, so people in this show, Singles Inferno, and also, guys, hold on, because obviously every time I do an episode, I like to say, what it is that we're talking about, because I'm like, again, I know that Singles Inferno is a craze right now, but again, still, and I'm doing it 20 minutes in, my bad, or 27 minutes, but still, if you have been listening for this amount of time, then like, yes, I would still like to obviously say the synopsis, because Singles Inferno is a show, like they go on a reality, like it's a reality dating show, and they go on a place called the Inferno, and they're on like a small remote island, and then they all kind of mingle with each other. Then they obviously play games in order to what's the word? They play games in order to go off with the person that they like to paradise, and paradise is somewhere outside of Inferno, where obviously the two people get to go and have conversations with one another, and obviously, yeah, make connections. I mean, and then of course you're only able to ask age and job like outside of the like of Inferno, but not inside. So yeah, and then they were really only able to disclose their ages, I feel, at the very end. They weren't able to do it like in between, because I suppose that was just one of the rules, which is completely normal. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's actually so right. But anyway, so back to my point anyways. But yeah, as I was saying, so there was the guy who obviously spoke English on there, which I think is Lee Sung Young, and then also there was Yoojin as well, there was Lee Hae-young, and I think, yeah, that was maybe the three, and then also actually Hung Jae as well, but he was obviously into one girl in specific on there. But again, like, these were the things that I just said, these were the people who weren't really getting much attention. And honestly, that's what I mean. I was so upset for them, because I was generally like, everyone wants to have their chance of being able to come on the show for love, and then obviously they just weren't finding the people that they wanted to find. And generally, even exactly back to Love Island again, even when you're watching Love Island, it's sad when you see that too. Like, there's people who are just like sitting there, and then they actually, like, I feel like on Love Island, yeah, it's way worse. Like, in terms of the isolation thing, it's way worse. Like, I think they were saying the guy who speaks English, right? He was like, oh, he wanted to leave. I heard it in an interview. He said he wanted to leave, like, I guess in the first few days. And that was so normal, because you do see that on Love Island as well. Like, you see how upset people on Love Island get. And I think it's way more worse on that show than it is on Singles Inferno. I feel like people in Singles Inferno, they don't really show it as much. I mean, but I meant in Love Island, like, they'll make it like everybody's business. Like, literally, they'll make it everyone's business, and then they start crying, and they're literally like, oh yeah, like, I want to go home and stuff like that. But you know, like I said with Sungyoung, he wasn't even really doing it that much. Like, he was generally like, oh yeah, he was basically making it like, I guess, yeah, he was laughing about it at some points. And he was also like unlucky in the term that he would get like, yeah, he would get balls where he wouldn't be able to play the games. And then he was also obviously like, damn, like, his relationship with Mina Sue was absolutely insane, because the whole time I never felt like the relationship was romantic at all. But I do think what is interesting is because there's that whole stigma, remember, that like guys and girls can't be friends. So I think that's also why they felt like that as well. And I think exactly that's sometimes a pressure that people have. But the whole thing is, I knew their relationship was like platonic the whole way through. Like, I knew that's what it was giving. Like, they were acting like, oh yeah, kind of, I feel like I like you, yada yada yada. But I was like, no, you generally don't. Like, and you don't need to convince us. Do you know what I mean? I said I already know what it was from the get-go, and I already knew how this was going to end as well. And so, not even to say that I don't think two people can't, you know, blossom into a relationship when they're two friends, but I'm just saying that's just what it felt like to me. The fact that he was just she kind of just had him as her comfort pillow, and she'd be talking about Subin with him, and I was like, well, who's that supposed to attract, by the way? That's all I want to know. I'm just like, if you're talking about some other guy while you're talking to somebody else, how is that really going to help you? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, you put yourself in the friend zone yourself, if anything. You know what I mean? To say, like, you put yourself in there, so it really wasn't gonna work out, I don't really think. Oh, I think a thing that I didn't even mention on my my notes, actually, hey, I didn't write this, but I really loved all of the judges. And I think my favorite judge was obviously the woman with, I think her name's like Jung Kyung, I think. Yeah, so not the one, not the, it's like so there's only two women on there, actually. So it's the other one, not the one who's that actress. It's the other one, because she was generally how I was feeling a lot of the time I was watching the show. I think me and her were on the same wavelength. I really like that. Of course, I really love that I didn't know that Dex was on the show, and that he obviously became one of the judges. And I think everyone was like, they think that one of the contestants who was on there should become a judge again. And I was like, well, they're actually right. I was like, yeah, of course. But it's like, I don't think it has to be the case. Maybe they don't want that to happen too often, where contestants come on there and become judges. I think maybe it was just like with Dex, they just want it to be a rare occurrence, which is completely fine. Like, honestly, it's actually okay. But I'm excited for season 6, to be honest. And yeah, as I said again, like lastly, before I move on to the next point, I did think it was just really upsetting in these people not being able to find who they wanted. But they didn't seem too mad at it, you know. I was happy for them, because I was generally like, sometimes I also think when people go on these shows and they don't get anyone, like, you can also still make connections with other people here, but I meant not romantic ones, but platonic. And I know people are like, oh yeah, you don't come on these shows to make friends, but again, we're like, yeah, you don't, but again, it's still a relationship nonetheless. So, do you know what I mean? Just ride that out. Ride out that wave, honestly, because it's actually okay. Like, I mean, I know that for me it's funny because I say that, but and it's such an outsider's perspective, because if I was in the show and that was happening to me, would I have the same outlook? Probably not. You know what I mean? I think, like, for me, I probably would be such a hater, and I'd be like, oh, everyone's so happy. I'd be like, yuck, like, yeah. And I'm like, I probably would leave. I would actually get out, because what am I doing here? But yeah. And I just think it's important as well, the fact that you do see them, like actively give it a go as well, because that's what I mean. You could have the give up mentality, but it's better to, as I said, ride it out and really just try to put your all in it, and that's all you can do. And I think a lot of them did have that outlook in the end anyway. They're all like, yeah, I tried my best, I tried to make as many connections as I could. And I'm like, exactly. That's all you can say. Like, pat yourself on the back. You came on the show. You tried to make a connection. It didn't work, but that's okay, honestly. Next was like, obviously my next point was big three in terms, but then I said big three because I was like, yes, I have my own personal favorites, and then which I'll obviously move on to in the next point. But I was saying big three in terms of popularity on the show, like who I felt like was getting the most attention. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I feel like everyone in this season, anyway, in season 5, I feel like everyone was equally right. And again with like this Korean TV show, like, yes, everyone is good, everyone's this and that. Like, I feel like, yeah, I will say, like, I guess in terms of like the beauty thing, and then how you see on Love Island, sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, this person's not my type, and then they'll like, okay, what I will say, yeah, I find they're very offensive about those things though. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying on Singles Inferno, I feel like everyone was equally beautiful. Like, nobody was like, what's the word, like, no one, yeah, to me, no one was unattractive. That's all I can say, you know what I mean? And I generally do think, in terms of what I said about Love Island, like, they're more harsher on there anyways. Do you know what I mean? It's giving what's it called, like the public embarrassment or public humiliation of Pop the Balloon, in the way that, like, when someone doesn't like someone on Pop the Balloon, the person is avidly loud about it. they're literally so loud. But it's like, I don't feel like Singles Inferno had that. Like, there was the max fact of matter is of where people were like, oh yeah, I'm not into you just because I like this other person more. That doesn't say anything about you. It just says that, I have a better connection with somebody else elsewhere. But it's like, you're not, like, do you know what I mean? We're like, you're not ugly, which they'll do, I'm telling you. Love Island's like, they'll be mean, and then those of the reality programs, they'll be mean about it, just mean and rude. I'm like, what is this? That is not nice. But anyway, so the boys in terms of popularity for me was Sung Il, Jae-jin, Soon Bin, and Sung Min. Like, I do generally think that those were the guys, and those were the people that the girls seemed really avidly interested in. I mean, remember Sung Il, he had like, what was it? I feel like he had was it 2? Yeah, because it was Minasu and Minji. So basically, yeah, he had like 2 girls on him at once, right? So that, again, already that lets us know that he's popular and all the girls want him. Like, that tells us already. We said that, yes, you are who they want. And the fact of the matter with Sung Il, I was like, yeah, he's cutie, so I get it. I was like, that's actually so fair. And Jae-jin, if we went to Jae-jin, I think with Jae-jin, he was popular in terms of like his, like, yeah, his aura and his charisma. Like, he just seemed to have it going on. And I mean, in the way that he was like, what's the word, I don't even know, there was just something about him. I guess the way that he was walking, when they gave him his own song, like, I feel like exactly he had that. And then also, he was funny, which again, I think funny and comedy in a person, is very striking. And like, you either have it or you don't. Like, there's no way around it. I think with funniness, that's the thing. And like, being funny, like, there's a difference in like trying to act funny and being funny. And like, Jason is like automatically funny. Like, you know what I mean? I meant he doesn't have to force it, or he doesn't have to try. He literally just has it. He literally just has that. And then Soon Bin, I said Soon, like, again, like his is again, because he had, yeah, how many? I think he had two, yeah, again, he might have had 2 as well. So again, I think Jae-jin had 2 as well, or either 3, but it might have been 2. But so, and then Soon had 2, and then Sung Min had Sungmin had a lot as well, but I think with Jaejin and Sungmin in specific, they went to Paradise a lot. So that was the thing which I obviously saw in the show. I was like, yeah, obviously you guys are popular a lot. Like, I think Sungil even went, what? Sungil went like twice? Yeah, he went twice or three times, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know, but he went a few times. So that really told me that obviously he was very popular to the girls. I mean, to the girls. And then, okay, and then to the girls, for me, it was Go Young, Minji, and Mina Su. So those were that was the big three. But if I can think, is there anybody else I would say in terms of popularity who I felt like the guys really wanted? No. Do you know what I mean? I do think it was those three girls, if I'm honest. Because again, they all said they really liked Minji. Like, I suppose when she first came in, like Sungil said that, and then again with Mina Su, they said that about Mina Su because she had that yellow dress on, whatever. It was nice, I guess. It was nice, I guess, but like I'm not a huge fan of Mina Su, which, you know, actually I haven't touched on now, but I mean, yeah, I'm not a big fan of her because she just didn't seem, what's the word, believable to me. And she also what's the word, she also, yeah, she just wasn't convincing, and I just don't know why she acted that way either. And like, I get like wanting to make connections, that's all well and fine, but like, again, her character to me just seemed weird. And then I was seeing like lots of parody stuff of her. People were actually doing her mannerisms down so good. Like, honestly, I said, if anyone did a parody skit, like, you need to go to acting school, because everyone was doing her whole little flick that she does with her hair when she pulls it back, and I'm like, what is that about? Like, what is that about? It's just actually so weird. Anyways, also, yeah, last point, of course, which was this is the last point on my what's it called, on my laptop notes, but was obviously my personal favorites were Sungil, Minji, Joy Young, and Sungin as well. Those were my peoples. Like, they were actually my favorites. But then of course, Sungil, he was my favorite in the beginning, and then of course, yeah, he lost me. We'll get there though. he lost me, and Minji was my beginning because it was my favorite from the very beginning, because I was like, she just had aura to me, and she's also a track star, so I was like, yeah. I was like, she's also a track star, so I was like, yes. She's just seemed like, you know, she just had a good head on her shoulders and everything. That's what she gave to me. So yeah. And then actually, it's so interesting because I feel like Go Young would also be on this list potentially. Because yeah, she's just great. I was like, yeah, but she would be on here too, if I'm honest. She was just really interesting to me. And then also, she had a really hard time because of course she had like, what's it? Yeah, she had three guys on her at once. Like, that's not easy. Like, honestly, that's not easy. Her brain was scrambled. Like, and it's like yours would be too if you had three guys on you at once, and all equally, all three of them weren't even like bad. Like I guess everyone was talking about this as well, I think, in terms of how they think, you know, in this whole, like, I guess three thing. I think people were saying that each of the guys individually, like, they did think some of them were a bit weird. That's what I've heard after finishing the show, and I was like, it's very interesting because, I mean, like, obviously Ig-Young, we know he fumbled, and that's just, you know, that's his own thing. He fumbled, that's his own thing. That's like, again, that's just credit to him. I think that's just who he is. And I think also he just needed to also watch the show back to be able to reflect on that as well. Because again, I didn't realize this also, but I meant, like, them watching it back, it's like they have to be able to reflect and understand how they came off to, like, others, and able to understand where they went wrong as well. Like, honestly, I get it, because I meant at first I didn't get it, because I was literally like, when I was watching the reunion, I was like, you guys were there, do you know what I mean? You lived that. I was like, you don't remember? That's what I was like, but I was like, okay, I genuinely get it. I mean, Ig-Young was mad at how he was acting, and I was like, yeah, you sabotaged yourself, but you didn't know it at the time. Like, honestly, credit to you, you didn't know it at the time, so we can probably lesson up on that. Like, literally be like, yeah, you didn't know that you were sabotaging yourself, but you in fact was. Lastly, with Sung Young, like, why he was my favorite was because Right. I just felt like also because again he was trying to get to know Mina Sue, but like I said, I knew she wasn't even gonna like him, and I feel like again the only other person I felt he could have potentially been with was Hae Young, but that was obviously afterwards, or not Hae Young actually. No, he sung right exactly because they both obviously spoke English, and I think they both were like. Yeah, they both live in New York, I believe, exactly. But then he sung like Sung Bin, so I was like, that's a shame. But I do feel like they could have worked out. That would have been his only other potential love interest, because I don't think there would have been anyone else on that equal standing. And I think both him and Mina Sue said that they wanted people, or they liked the fact that they were both able to speak English to each other. So I think that was kind of who they were looking for. Or I feel like he was looking for someone who spoke English way more than Mina Sue was, because you know what I mean. She fell for Sunbin, obviously, so she obviously wasn't that bothered about that, because you know what I mean. Sometimes you think that people have what's it called? People have deal breakers, but I don't feel like that was a huge deal breaker for her. But I do feel like more so for Sungyoung, I think like that would have been a deal breaker for him, and like they were speaking English like a lot in the show, so that's what I'm saying. That's why I do think you know, yeah, that he would have needed that. And then also Sungin was also great to me because he was also funny. Like he made me laugh quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's go, baby. I was like, yeah, he's hilarious. Like I loved how funny he was, and he was generally making me laugh the whole entire time. And I feel like with a show like Singles Inferno, you definitely need that. I personally like my notes in my notebook more than the computer ones. Like the computer one I didn't even make many on, so that's the whole thing. But when I was watching the show in the beginning, the notebook one, yeah, I think I had to do like, what was it? It was around like 4 pages that I wrote about this. But anyways, let's start off with number 1. Reality TV doesn't showcase unconventionally attractive people. I think most people are beautiful, but I'm saying you don't see people with iconic facial features or with different body sizes. And honestly, again, I can say a lot about this. I don't really like it, to be honest. And I think the why I don't like it is because it's just interesting. Like, you know, the only reality TV show that really has that, and I think I thought about it when I was watching it, was Married at First Sight. Right. Married at First Sight, obviously, as you guys know, is like people get married to a person, like actually, yeah, on first sight, like, you know what I mean? It's literally what it says on the tin. They literally meet a person and they get married to them. And then I think what's sad about Married at First Sight to me though is the fact that people go on there and then obviously the guys will be like, oh, well, she's not my type, I don't want to be with her. They do all of that, and I'm just like, no, that's rude. But like, I think my whole thing is that when I always think about this stuff, yeah, I'm like, I don't like that they do it on TV. They'll probably humiliate a person. That's my whole thing. And I think I said that anyway earlier. But that's what I mean. I think I don't like that. That's annoying to me. It's like if you want to reject somebody, that's all well and good. Like, we're like, fine, but do it like off screen, do you know what I mean? Or then leave the show. Like, it's either or, but like, you don't have to be in it and then like humiliate the person and be like, oh yeah, your feelings for them aren't gonna change. And we're like, you know what I mean? You keep saying all these things, but you're still here. Like, we're like, what? That's weird. Like, if you're feeling so strongly about it, just go. But then, like I said, I do think, again, like I said earlier, it just connects to the whole fame thing, because people will be like, oh, I'm being paid to be here, so like, okay, fine, I'll stay. And then maybe again, that's what I said, this is probably again a societal issue in the way of being like, oh yeah, if you're getting paid for something, then you might as well do it. But where are people's, what's the word, I don't know, I was gonna say self-worth, or just these type of ideas, just know what I mean. I just mean these kind of really important things that people don't have. And I do think obviously people like this whole idea of materialistic stuff and like how much money means to them as people. And hello, I like to say that I think money's important, but I don't like, you know, I don't hold it over my head, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna do anything crazy just for a check. And I know that you guys be like, you're not, and I'm like, no. I'm not. Like, I think we all joke about this sometimes and be like, yeah, like, okay, if someone wanted to stiff my foot like for £100, I'd let them do it, but no, I wouldn't. by the way. I just had to clarify. I actually wouldn't, because it's not worth it. Do you know what I mean? And of course, when we say, oh yeah, it's not worth it, we're like, yes, when you look at the number, you're like, oh yeah, it is worth it. This could give me this, this could give me that. But I'm saying, in terms of people and like pride and dignity, we're saying no, it's not worth it, because then you lose all of that. Do you know what I mean? You lose all of that, all the stuff that you've worked on as an individual, just for the sake of getting money at the end. And I think also, when you get money at the end, when you do crazy stuff, it just feels dirty. I mean, like, I don't know, I think it feels wrong, like, you know what I mean? But I want to say, because I feel like that it might come off weird, but I mean, like, with like what's it called, sex work and stuff like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because again, that's all well and fine. Because anyway, I'm saying there's stuff in life that you like need to do, and there's stuff in life that you don't need to do, by the way. That's what I mean. I just wanted to make a big a big exclamation point on that, because a lot of the time, sometimes when we listen to things, we might misinterpret. So that's why I wanted to flag that. I said, guys, get your money up, but I said, don't do anything insane. Just what I mean. Like, if let me give an example. If you're afraid of heights, and someone's gonna pay you to jump out of a helicopter, don't do it. I'm like, what? Don't do it. You are afraid of heights. You know that. So why are you there? Like, I'm honestly, yes. And people will be like, oh yeah, face your fears. But no, you don't have to if you don't want to. And just what I mean. That statement that I said right there is the most important. You don't have to if you don't want to, by the way. That's the main thing. And that's what I think reality TV like removes, I think. That's what I mean. There's this like glossy thing, and I think it removes a lot of these things. Like, it makes it just seem like, oh yeah, you should stay just because of this, you should stay just because of that. But like, no, ignore all that. I'm like, literally, ignore all that, scrap that. That's not what we want to do, guys. What is it? Oh yeah, and then I said they may even be stricter in Korea, which is Korea's big beauty problem, which exactly, they do have one, because you can generally see the fact that none of their skins are like, do you get what I mean? None of their skins have any kind of blemishes, any of those stuff and everything like that. And that's why when I say, oh yeah, it's hard to like watch these programs sometimes, it's because you don't see yourself you don't see yourself presented. And like, everyone needs that, like representation is so important, and everyone knows that. Like, when you're growing up, like, yes, I think even again back to American Top Model, like there was a guy that I watched the YouTube video of, because he has a podcast, and he was saying that Miss J and obviously Jay Alexander, he was like, oh, they're two gay guys on the show. And then he was like, oh yeah, he was growing up and he saw them, and he was like, well, whoa, that could be me, in the future. And I was like, exactly, that's why representation matters. And I always think, when I watch TV and I know people with like, as I said, iconic facial features, which are like big noses, big lips, like all of those, and like when you don't see them, it can make you be like, oh yeah, maybe there's not a place for me here. And that's what I mean. I don't like all of that stuff. I don't like any of that stuff. And I'm like, why doesn't it happen? And they're like, people will be like, of course you're not gonna see a fat person on a reality TV show. They're not gonna be in a bikini. That might upset people. I said, what's weird? No. I said, I need to see it, because that's what I mean. And I think as a plus size person, that's what I mean. That's why I do like to see it, because it makes me think that, I can potentially go on television. Not that I'm saying that I want to, because again, I'm not saying that I want to. I'm just saying that, if I felt like it happened and I felt like it was there, then there we go. And then when I think about Married at First Sight again, because that's what I said, you only see those type of people on there. Like, I remember when I watched the Married at First Sight episode, and they had this plus size girl on there, and the guy was so horrible to her as well. And it was generally like, yeah, it was on the basis he just didn't like her because she was fat. I was like, that's crazy. Like, you guys can't. I'm like, don't air these things. That is very upsetting, because it's like, what are we doing? Because then you're gonna put her on there and then make it seem like, fat people can't be loved and all this stuff, right? I just hate when things have like, yeah. When things have like deeper meanings, you know, they'll put something in there just on the basis to create a bigger issue. I'm like, it's not helping anyone. And I'm just like, that's what I mean. It should be that. And then I made another point, which I said, it's usually a storyline in K dramas of like fat to skinny. Like, oh yeah, like a woman is more beautiful skinnier. Because I think, what K drama am I thinking of? Oh my Venus? Yeah, Oh My Venus probably. In the fact that which is actually, again, the whole fact thing actually is like, it's a storyline trope that they use anyways, which is like, oh, a girl will be fat and then she'll lose that, and then it will be like, you know, she's automatically prettier. Do you know what I mean? When it's like, on both we said on both, the even either side, on they both equally pretty. And I'm just like, you know, what is that all about? But again, that's why I said this whole point, it connects to yes, it connects to, I guess, as I said, Korea's what's it, beauty problem. But then I also think, again, because I've been saying a lot in this episode, it's like societal issues. But again, like I said, it's not, as I wanted to say with this whole point, is that I wouldn't just say it's a zoomed in thing on like Korea. I meant like it's generally like a generalized problem. Like, I meant like it happens everywhere. It doesn't just happen in reality TV programs. I'm just saying it happens, again, like you say, take the reality out, it happens in TV in general. I just mean it happens in TV in general. And then again, if we even dig in deeper, remember, like, they'll just use fat people as the point of their what's it called, running gags, yeah, or just the point to be the targets in a show. And then it's like, again, it's like when you see those YouTube videos, remember, when they have the different kind of tropes, they'll have they'll have manic pixie girl, they'll have the funny they'll have the funny fat character, like, do you know what I mean? I think, wow, like, they've again, there's all these problems, right? It's just like, why do we have those? Do you know what I mean? We honestly need less of these bad images. And this is what I'm saying again, why I keep going back to Regular Top Model. This is all stuff that I've generally like realized. And I think why, even when I was watching Singles Inferno, I was just like, yeah, everyone is pretty here. Like, that's what I said earlier, everyone is pretty here. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, and then I think yeah, I said, like, I think I was saying exactly that Korea doesn't have any characters like Jane the Virgin, Ugly Betty, or Fleabag. Do you know what I mean? So I meant they don't have any of those. So I guess, like, that's what I'm saying. Modern television sometimes does have those characters, but as I said, they don't have them as often as we'd like. You know, those and those characters that I mentioned, they are great for TV. I would say that's what I mean. I wanted to obviously make that reference because they are obviously the only kind of positive outlook that we have. Like, you know what I mean? So in the way of, yes, Ugly Betty, and then, you know, you have Ugly right in front of it, and we're like, whoa. Like, that's alarming. And then, I mean, like, Jane the Virgin, because again, Jane the Virgin's just like, yeah, that show's crazy. And then again, actually, another character for me, which I feel like, again, is great representation, is like, yes, it's like Daria, I feel, anyways, because she, yeah, again, she's just very misunderstood. So I feel like in terms of like misunderstood characters, she's definitely one of them as well. But obviously when I mentioned those other characters, that was just in regards to like beauty. But Daria for me as well is just like a huge one, which is obviously why, you know, obviously I'd spoken about her on the pod beforehand, because obviously I was like, she's just very interesting for people to see and be like, you know, actually nothing's wrong with you. By the way, yeah, there was this point I had, I think the next point was like parasocial intimacy used in a positive light. I think this point might have been something that Mina Sue said to Sungin. I feel like she was saying, like, in the way, or was it her? I mean, yeah, you guys can what's it called, yeah, fact check it or say if you think that's wrong, but I meant, like, I feel like it was either her, in terms of saying that, like, you know, you feel close to somebody Even though, like, because I think I wrote that note because I was like, oh, I always assume parasocial to be seen in a bad light. Do you know what I mean? I think we all do. Like, when you think of parasocialism, it's generally like, oh, a person being so self obsessed to the point that, you know what I mean, they're trying to find out where, you know, a celebrity lives, yada yada yada, like all that stuff. That's basically what I think. When I heard that term on the show, I was just like, I didn't know it could be used in a good light. Even, hold on, let's even let's do a Googles, because it's very interesting, because that's what I mean. I just didn't know that it was a term that could be used nicely at all. Parasocial intimacy. Yeah, so it says parasocial intimacy refers to the one-sided physiological and emotional bond a person develops with a media figure, the celebrity, influencer, or fictional character who is unaware of their existence. And then it says one-sided nature, illusion of closeness, and impact. So, okay, so I suppose it's literally just what we know about parasocial in general. But I just mean, when I heard on the show, I was like, oh, like, what does that mean? Maybe even let me find out when it was on the show. Okay, I was right. It was Minasu. Minasu said, "Oh yeah," it said to Sung do you happen to know what parasocial intimacy is?" And I think obviously she was saying that in regards to him, but I was like, I swear that doesn't like work with what she said, though. Like, as in, that's not what was happening, I mean, in her and his relationship, because always from the very beginning we knew that he liked her, and we could tell that she was like engaging with like loads of other people, and hello, not even to shame her in any way, but like, obviously, yeah, she was doing that, like, that's a fact. And so really, she's just like, oh, it's one, like, obviously we know that parasocial is about, yes, the one-sided emotional connection, but I was like, yeah, I don't know why she said that. Like, it would have been, Songyang would have been the person on the other end, I mean, like, not her, because I mean, I don't think that she was really like, she was never really into him. But if she means in the way that I suppose she has a connection with him, but like not a romantic one, but just one that is still emotional, which I suppose is just what parasocialism is. I don't know, it's just very interesting. It was just weird, that's what I mean. I was just like, when I heard it in the show, I was like, oh. And then obviously now that we've clarified it, you know, it kind of makes sense. This point that I have was obviously kind of what I mentioned earlier already, which was Singles Inferno versus Love Island, and how the boys and girls are split. They can't engage in everyday small talk like Love Island does, only at dinners, lunch, breakfast, missions, and or hunts. And then Love Island, they have mixed rooms, but Korea, they're more strict, which obviously, as we know, that's what I said earlier. I was like, they actually are more strict on that. But I do think, like I said, it's literally like better that way. I said that was my very first point anyways. It's literally better that way for them to have it that way, because again, like I said, it's literally just like, sometimes on shows they just literally ooze lust, and we're just like, no, I don't want that. But like, I'm not hungry. Like, I'm actually not hungry. I'm actually like so full. It's funny looking back at my notes, but again, this was another note that I made that was again still like on top of the first note that I made. So again, with just reality programs, beauty standards, because I said that I'm tired of that, like the back to point one, that Christina made the song beautiful for a reason, and we haven't got anywhere because we don't get the appreciation we deserve. Like, if you think how modeling is changing now, and it's becoming more body positive and also disability positive also. So that's what I mean. Like, I think, because that's the thing, and again, back to modeling, because again, with American Top Model, like, I suppose, remember, they had a body positive person win the show, what's it called? But it's like, what I'm saying is, modeling is so much different now than it used to be then. And then I just mean, why can't IGTV have the same upgrade? You know, that's what I mean. Like, a new look, a new color. Like, why can't it have a big re-glam, you know? It needs obviously to start putting people on there that people can actually see themselves in, and not just the same thing all the time. I think, oh, also there was another point that I had again, which is another one, which was fave girls. But I think in this notebook, obviously I did say Go Young and Jung Young as well, because obviously Jung Young was reminding me of a Korean actress, and I found out who the Korean actress was, and I think obviously she's this actress from she's actress from Buried Hearts, who has black hair. I don't know if anyone else could really see that, but, and also you're gonna have to Google that though, because honestly, when you see it, you'll get it. And then this other point I said was clear skin, like I said, and I'm like, I generally do want to see people with blemishes. Yes, I do. I know people don't want us to see that, and that's what I mean. Again, I don't like the, as I said, I think I mentioned it earlier anyway, yes, I don't like the glamorization, because, why do you think that's what we want to see? Like, to have this veil and to have a big scale between reality TV and actual reality. I'm like, no, like, isn't it called reality TV for a reason? Yes. isn't it reality TV for a reason? Like, we should generally see all of that. And I think maybe, okay, yes, maybe to some certain degree, maybe that's why American Top Model had this whole thing where they wanted to show how models wouldn't eat and they'd get sick, because I think maybe that was, again, to me, that might have been the only realistic thing about that show. Like, that's what I'm saying. The only thing out of that show that I could pick out is generally that, because I don't think there's anything else that really, like, really was that realistic to me. Like, everything else just seemed so weird, you know, even when they did the race swapping. But my whole thing is that, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is the only realism thing you really see. And honestly, again, I know that I just started saying about clear skin, but yes, it fits, because I'm just like, why don't they show that stuff? Do you know what I mean? It's very weird. And I say the truth game, Mina Sue was one of my favorites, and then I started to dislike her. Yeah, I did. I really did. Like, I think, again, even like the guys, like, they all liked the fact that she came in there with confidence and she was in that yellow dress. It was very striking. It gave, I was thinking of 100, was it? Yeah, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And I was like, yes, I love a good yellow dress. That's very nice. But then obviously, I suppose her character was just like, yeah, she was just showing her true colors. And like, I think, I don't know, like, it's just interesting, because I also don't want to be that type of person who's like, oh yeah, because we're like, when a guy does it, we're like, oh no, like, that's awful, which, again, that's what I mean, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it works, because everyone can literally get it. Like, I meant in terms of, like, how, yeah, when a guy does it, it's wrong. When a woman does it, it's also wrong, by the way. I just want to say that. Like, we're literally just in the way that she act. And then also, because when you see some of her scenes in it, when she's like, someone did one the other day as well, I think, another skit. So someone was like, how when she was like, oh, can I leave Inferno with 2 guys? Like, no, you can't. That's not what the show's about. You only leave with one. Like Nick says in New Girl, yeah, you can only have one wife. This is the way the world works. Like, I'm actually sorry, it's not, you can't actually leave with 2. It's just not gonna work. And then I think she even said it herself in the reunion. So I think what I wrote next to my point was arrogant. So she even said that herself, reflecting back on the show. She was like, oh yeah, I came across a bit arrogant and, like, you know, self-absorbed. And we were like, yeah, you did. Then also, again, especially when she obviously did that scene that she didn't think they were going to put in, where she was like, yeah, like, I'm giving my clothes to the girls and this and that, like, you know, I'm not a bad person or whatever. And we're just like, yeah, you're not, but, like, there's a way to do things, by the way. There's actually a way to do things. Like, I can't remember what reminded me of it. Oh, okay, it reminded me of when Min Ji, that's why she's one of my favorites again. She never doubted me ever. But she obviously went to Heesung. I remember she went to Heesung and she said, oh, can I take Sunbin to paradise? And obviously Heesung was like, yeah, man, go go ahead. Do you know what I mean? Go right on ahead, right? So that is what you need to do, right? But Minasu never did that ever. Like, it was crazy. And I think people don't like the, what's it called? Yeah, the inconsistency. So a lot of back and forth stuff. Like, that's crazy. That's why Minji had to have that conversation with her and be like, you've been acting a bit weird because, like, you're all over the place. And she was like, yeah, you don't know yourself. And she obviously took that to heart. But it was generally like, oh, you should be able to take that criticism. I mean, as a person, like, if you can't take criticism when somebody comes forward to tell you something, then, do you know what I mean? It's not gonna work. Like, I think people should be able to take things that people say on the chin, and like, when someone says something to you, maybe you could then obviously, yes, take it as the fact that you might need to work on yourself or something like that. You should obviously view it in that way. But she just obviously got really what's the word, defensive about it, and she obviously started crying, and it was just a whole thing, like, you know what I mean? And then obviously then Minji afterwards was almost like, oh yeah, when they were watching it back, she's like, I look like a bully, yada yada yada. And we were like, no, you were literally just giving her tough love, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, yes, sometimes people should get tough love, and that's okay. Like, sometimes you do need to pull somebody aside and say, oh yeah, this way that you've acted hasn't been good, and it makes you look like this way, that way, do you know what I mean? And that's why Sunbin got the ick. She's acting like, she was so amazing, and then when she was speaking to Sunbin, she was acting like it was his fault. I was like, what? That makes no sense. She spoke to him and was like, oh yeah, I didn't like how you were acting with Heesun, and I didn't like that, you gave her your hoodie and everything like that, and that you've been talking to her, la la la. We were like, hold on a moment. Haven't you also been doing the same thing? You've also been talking to a lot of guys. You've also been doing the same thing. So how can you get angry when you're doing the exact same thing that he was doing? But like, he just wasn't doing it in the way that she was. Do you get what I mean? Like, the campfire scene actually was probably one of the best scenes, aside from we'll get there later though. I think, hold on, we'll get there later. But it was one of my favorite scenes actually. And at this point I said, with what's so wrong with wanting to go to paradise with someone new, which obviously, yes, I think and I said it's all about exploring connections, which it is. That's what I mean. Everyone was like, yeah, people would act weird, but as I said, like, Mina Sue's way of her conduct, I meant, yeah, it was not good. But I meant, like, when I wrote this point, I was like, yes, people are supposed to go on here and really explore, but just not in the way that she went about it. Like, there's actually such a way to do it. It just wasn't that at all. I mean, like, as I said to you guys, I generally liked her. That's what I will say. Like, I really liked her in the beginning, and I was like, wow, like, she seems like she's really confident in the way that's all what the guys were saying too. I was like, yeah, she did give that to me. And then I was also just like, then she just got weird. And I was like, why did you go weird? Yeah, honestly, you're like, why did you go weird? Why did you do that? I don't get why you did that. It's just like, I think that's honestly sometimes what we like view reality TV programs, because it's generally like, why would you want to portray yourself in that light? Because that's not who you are. Like, that's what I mean. Because I mean, then it's like when you see someone act like that on TV, you're like, is this who you are? Do you know what I mean? But then I feel like even when she came away watching it, it's still like, yeah, she was doing a lot of like sorry stuff, and we were like, okay, like, you say you're sorry, but like, do you know what I mean? That was literally how you were acting on them. And you were there too. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, coming across like a pick me in a suit. Because yes, exactly. And the two guys comment, I think, is basically, yes, what we attach to that. Because honestly, when we're just like, and I think, right, in her conversation with Minji, she's like, oh no, actually no, I don't think she said that then. She said that in one of the confessionals. So in one of the like little interview bits, she was generally saying like, oh, she likes guys who like her. And we're like, when you put it that way, that could be a whole bunch of guys. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, that's what it sounded like to me. I was like, like, generally, as we know, like, guys like girls all the time. Right. Well, sometimes, like, guys like anything that moves a lot of the time. I would just want to say that. So I was literally like, if you're saying that, like, the statement comes across as like, okay, you would go for anybody, right? So it's a bit like, and in the way that, like I said, in like, Minji going to his song, like, that says a lot about somebody, and that's what I mean. Like, Mina Su should have had the same kind of strategy, even though again, maybe again you see this on Love Island too, I suppose, that like I guess nobody does really look out for each other type thing. And I know that they do that on that show too, like they're like, oh yeah, I'll step on your toes because I don't really care, like all that stuff. But I think it's very, very crazy, like I think they do that a lot on there, and they'll be like, oh yeah, girl code doesn't exist, all this stuff. But like again, it's still not good regardless. I mean, even though, as I said, with Love Island they have that set on there, it's still not good anyway. So just because it happens on there doesn't mean that yeah, you should use it as some kind of like guidebook, rule book. Like that's not it. Like don't do it that way. Well, it's like that means you don't care about anyone. And then because that's what I mean, she used that whole oh yeah, I've been giving them my bikini thing as like oh yeah, I've been so good to them, like that type of thing. And that was just weird because you haven't been that great to them. Do you know what I mean? You could literally be way better than you have been being. You could do so much better, but you're gonna use the bikini thing as like your main thing. Like that's just weird. I think that's obviously why Minji was obviously offended in the end, because obviously she was like, oh yeah, you've been lending them to me, so that means you're having a pop at me. And I was like, yeah, that's just not good. So like it's like an indirect, but like obviously not explicitly saying the person's name. I think here's a great place to close, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you actually in part 2. So, yeah, bye.